What's going on, everyone? It's Yugi Bros, and we got another duel video for you right now. So, our opponent is on My Precious Queen. This has been the skill that's been running the game for the most part. This card says at the start of the duel, you flip it over. You can normal summon level 7 insect monsters with 1 less tribute. So, in Speed Duel's case, the only 2 monsters you can do this currently with is Insect Queen and Brain Crusher. Then, it has the most relevant effect, which is once per turn during the end phase. Keep this in mind, the end phase. So, every single end phase, you can special summon 1 insect monster token, Insect Earth, level 1, attack and defense 100. This token cannot be tributed, except for the tribute summon of an insect monster or their effects. So you can't do anything with the token unless it's insect related. And then the last effect is you can tribute an insect monster from your hand instead when attacking with Insect Queen monsters you control. Granted, that effect almost never comes up because if anyone's playing level 7s, it's Brain Crusher, and a lot of decks aren't even playing the level 7 monster, considering the token generating effect of the skill is the massive part as to why you play this. We are on Night of Legend. This skill says activate this skill during your main phase. Each turn, one Gaia the Fierce Knight you normal summon can be summoned without tributing. Keep in mind it has to be Gaia the Fierce Knight, not Gaia the Fierce Knight monster. So you can't use like Swift Gaia or Charging Gaia through this skill to normal summon without tributing. You'd have to either use Charging Gaia through its own effect or summon good old vanilla Gaia the Fierce Knight. Then it says apply the following skills while you control a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster. Now it does matter here. This can be any Gaia the Fierce Knight monster, so Swift Gaia and Charging included, or a Gaia the Dragon Champion monster you control. If it attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. Once per turn, if it inflicts battle damage with the skill, draw 2 and then discard 1 card. So this is actually Spiral Spear Strikes effect for Gaia the Fierce Knight in the form of a skill, so you don't actually have to play that garbage. The downside to this skill, however, while it's face up, is you cannot activate set cards in the spell and trap zone, and this will be flipped as soon as you activate it for the remainder of the duel. So keep that in mind. You cannot activate set cards in the spell and trap zone. So to mitigate that, we don't play anything that we would set. Rather, we do play a few quick plays, but the logic is we would activate them on our turn. The reason this skill is seeing a lot of play right now is because this skill is seeing a lot of play right now. Putting a 100/100 token on the field at the end phase does not stop Gaia the Fierce Knight from piercing over it for massive damage. So starting out here, they're going to supply squad, they're going to set a black metal dragon, and at end phase they're going to make a token. So the token comes out at 100/100 and they'll pass to us. We're going to draw into Bashing Shield. Now we're going to flip the skill so we can normal summon our Gaia. Then we're going to equip Bashing Shield, which gives our monster, a normal summon set monster I should say, 1000 additional attack, and we take no damage from the attack. And we have 2 Bashing Shields, so we're going to activate both, go to battle phase and swing over this token. And now you see why this skill is getting played so much. Alright, so going into game 2, they're going to start off things by making us go first. We're going to Summoner's Art. Yep, there we go. And add Gaia the Fierce Knight before passing to our opponent. Now, this probably wasn't smart on our note. We probably shouldn't have telegraphed that we had a Gaia the Fierce Knight because Mind Crush has been one of the most powerful side deck cards in the game right now. Unfortunately, hindsight bias is 2020, so, you know, we'll get there when we get there. They're going to set 3-8 before normal summoning this Gearfried, the Red As Iron Knight, which is seeing play in this deck. It's actually seeing play in a lot of decks as an engine between this Baby Dragon and a Black Metal Dragon, just because it's a very consistent engine that also outs back row in the process. They're going to go into battle phase here. They're going to swing for 18, and we are not going to Electrosphere Karibo. We're going to draw into Galaxy Cyclone, but little that does to a draw-phased Mind Crush, calling Gaia the Fierce Knight and outing 2 of our 3 Gaias. We're going to then Galaxy Cyclone, one of the remaining 2 on the field, and that is Blast with Chain, so we don't have to deal with that nonsense with Gearfried. But we can only pass from here, and phase they will make a token, which is interesting that they choose to do so while we've now officially revealed what we're on. But they seem pretty confident to back it up. They're going to then normal Black Metal Dragon, set a Windstorm of Et Aqua, and go to battle phase, swinging in for both 600 first, and trying to swing for 18 for game, and we will happily Sphere Karibo that. We draw into Summoner's Art number 2, so we're going to shotgun this and add Gaia. We know now that they can't Mind Crush us because they don't have a card in hand. If they fail on the Mind Crush, we're going to normal summon this Gaia. They're going to let that go. We're going to equip it with Bashing Shield, putting it up to 33. Yes, this should have been flipped face up to normal summon the Gaia. We're going to go to battle phase and try to swing over the Gearfried, since that is the most optimal thing to get rid of off the field. But we are unfortunately hit with a Book of Moons, so their monster will go face down, and we will lose the equip because of that. They'll draw into Red Eye's Baby Dragon, activate Black Metal, equipping it to Gearfried, pumping it up by 600, not electing to use its effect, obviously. Normal summoning the Red Eye's Baby Dragon, going to battle phase, and having this Gearfried now swing over our Gaia before the baby will hit us for 1200. We're going to draw into Charging Gaia the Fierce Knight. So we can't normal summon it through this skill, but we can normal summon it through its own effect. However, its attack is reduced to 1900, which does not really help us here, but we will swing into the token. Figure we get some burn damage in and draw 2, discard 1. However, it's met with the Windstorm, which changes all our battle positions of face-up monsters we control. So we can't really do a whole lot to that, and clearly this is just game from this point. So a quick 2 games, maybe we can actually survive a little bit longer in this one. We're going to have them go first. They're going to set Book of Moon, Offerings to the Doomed, and Windstorm. End phase, they have the ability to make a token, but they do decline on that. Makes sense, obviously. We're going to draw into Warrior Returning Alive. So we're going to shuffle a hand up a couple times, activate Galaxy Cyclone, hit their back row, which happens to be Book of Moon, normal summon this Gaia the Fierce Knight, go to battle phase, and unfortunately it's met with the Offerings to the Doomed, but the upside to this is that they cannot draw, so keep in mind we can't set these, because if we do, then we won't be able to activate them under our skill, so we just have to hold the Book of Moon and hope for the best. They cannot draw due to Offerings, so they will pass back to us. We will draw into another Galaxy Cyclone, works out really well here. We're going to hit out that back row before we activate the Summoner's Art, adding a Gaia the Fierce Knight to our hand. Then we were going to normal summon the Gaia and swing for 23. So we won't get its draw to discard 1, but we will nonetheless swing in for 23. Now in phase they're going to make a token, and that would be odd, right? Because we can just do piercing. However, they have Token Sunday in hand, which you'll see why is relevant right now. Token Sunday says destroy as many tokens you control as possible, then destroy cards in the field up to the number of tokens destroyed by the effect, so they will happily get rid of our Gaia before then summoning this Red Eyes Baby Dragon and swinging for 1200. We'll draw into Sphere Karibo. Good thing we have this Warrior Returning Alive to get our boy back to the field. I'm sorry, back to the hand and then to the field, of course. We're going to actually pass on that, however, because we don't want them to float into a Gaia and then put the baby back on the field and then have the ability to maybe do some type of follow-up. We figure if they're going to do damage to themselves, we'll wait. We have a Sphere Karibo just in case. They draw into Mind Crush, which doesn't do anything for them right now because they have nothing in hand, but also they don't know our hand currently. We're going to draw into Charging Gaia the Fierce Knight. We will normal summon him out. He does come out at 1900. We recognize that. They will take a clean 700 before they get to float with the baby into the Gearfried, and then of course the baby will equip to the Gearfried, giving it 300 additional attack points. Then we Book of Moon this face down, so the Red Eyes will fall off, which means it can add a Black Metal Dragon from deck or grave to hand. The reason we do this to book their monster, however, is because now we do a little bit extra damage through the piercing effect, and we get to draw to discard 1, which is really helpful. We figure we hit Night Beam and Solitary Sword of Poison. Now this card's really cool if you only have one monster on the field, where the equipped monster, when it battles an opponent's monster, its original attack and defense are doubled. So you can do a whole lot more damage off one attack. The downside to this card is if you control a monster other than the equipped monster, this card is sent to the graveyard. We will then pass back to our opponent, who draws Windstorm. If at Aqua, they will set the Black Metal, and pass. End phase are going to make a token now. They figure if the piercing gets through their monster, no harm in having an extra monster just in case. We draw into Solitary Sword, but we're going to Night Beam the new set since the old one didn't do anything to us last turn, go to battle phase, and have Charging Gaia swing in for game. So our opponent is on Double Brain Crusher, believe it or not, but we never actually saw it, so it can come out as a 1 tribute with that skill, which is really handy, especially if they make us go first, because on our end phase they'll make a token, and then if they want to, they can follow it up by tributing it to normal summon this. It's just basically a free summon. They are also on 3 copies of Gearfried, the Red Eyes Iron Knight, 2 copies of Red Eyes Baby Dragon, 2 Black Metal Dragon, a single Supply Squad. Interesting. This actually doesn't see nearly as much play as I think it deserves to see, especially in this deck that makes free monsters that, if destroyed by battle or card effect, let you draw a card every turn. 1 United We Stand, which we also didn't see, but this is actually pretty crazy in this deck. So by itself, it can give a monster 800 additional attack and defense for each face-up monster you control. So that's great in itself, but also you can equip it to Gearfried, have Gearfried's effect then trigger, destroying it, which then destroys a spell or trap. So this is MST if this is on the field, which is crazy. MST it doesn't target, I should say. But by itself, just the 800 additional attack is crazy, especially if you put it on Brain Crusher, who's a poor man's Goyo Guardian, is the best way I've been able to suggest this card to people, where if it kills something by battle, you can bring the monster back at the end phase from the graveyard. So if you put this up to 3200, it's clearing almost everything in the game, let alone, aside from the fact that if you put at least one other monster on the field, then it's 4000, and I don't even want to begin to think about it at 46. But then they play 3 tokens Sunday, obviously for the tokens, 3 Book of Moon, because it's the best 3 of in the game. 3 Blast with Chain. This is the trap that gives a monster 500, but if destroyed while equipped, targets a card on the field and destroys it. You equip it normally to Gearfried. Gearfried can then trigger destroying it, and then you can destroy a spell or trap on the field. And then after that, Blast with Chain will trigger on a new chain to target a card on the field and destroy it. So it's like a cool little 2-for-1 or 1-for-1. I don't know however you want to look at it. With 1 Offerings to the Doomed, and then the 1 Windstorm in the main deck. In the side deck, they have 2 Insect Princess. Now, this card is really, really good in the mirror match. All insect monsters your opponent controls are changed to attack position. So this key effect right here is insane in the mirror, because if they have tokens, right, that they put out in the field and you summon Insect Princess, their tokens are forced to attack mode. So then you can do infinite damage over their tokens that are now in attack position. The other effect of this card is if this card destroys an insect by battle, this card gains 500 attack permanently. So another cool effect here. Summon this, put their 100 token in attack mode, run it over. It was an insect, so now this gains 500 permanently. So it's 24, then it's 29. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger over time. 2 Mind Crush, like I said, best side deck card in the game. The second Windstorm, this card's seeing more and more play as of recent, and understandably so. If tokens are the quote-unquote meta, what better way to screw them over by switching them all to attack mode through this skill? And then 1 Waking the Dragon. But as for our deck, we are on triple Gaia the Fierce Knight and 1 Charging Gaia. And that's it. I know, crazy, right? You would think this wouldn't be as consistent as it is, but believe it or not, contrary to popular belief, it is, and you also play 3 copies of Summoner's Art, so you're basically playing 6 plus a 1 of. We do have the Warrior Returning Alive in the side deck if you need to get back a Gaia, and we do play a second Charging Gaia in the side deck if we feel we need more monsters, but most of the time, this is all this deck needs to get the job done. 3 Sphere Karibo, 4 defense, 3 Book of Moon, 4 defense, but as I said, you can't activate set cards, so there's not a whole lot of extra cards you can play in this deck to warrant the extra space. 2 Solitary Sword of Poison, like I said, doubles the attack points, makes this 46 if it battles anything. 2 Bashing Shield makes it 33 if it battles anything. Triple Night Beam, because this card is boss against back row, and 1 Galaxy Cyclone in the main to round it out. In the side deck, the second Charging and the Warrior Returning Alive, 1 Hammer Shot, in case you are playing against a deck where they are playing things that are on average stronger than 2300. Brain Crusher does come to mind. Granted, you do have equips, but what better way to out something than outing it immediately, then normaling a Gaia and doing your battle damage from that point. The second Galaxy Cyclone for a lot of extra back row hate. 1 Shrink. This can come up. It's interesting. We play this over the Offerings to the Doomed, just simply because Offerings makes us skip our draw, and the way this deck kind of works, you kind of need every draw to be something. You can't really combo in this deck. You kind of just need to have your beat sticks be your beat sticks, and these are like added extra ways to just damage for game, but the downside to that is you're wasting multiple cards to do one thing. So sometimes the extra card matters, but Offerings can slow us down on skipping the draw. Shrink, I feel like, just kind of fits the gap. You are most likely always killing what you want, but on the offset chance you're not, Shrink will usually bridge the gap there. And then 1 Anti-Magic Arrows. We haven't really messed a whole lot with this, and I know I released a YouTube short recently saying we kind of overhyped this card. I feel like, however, this is the perfect deck for this card, considering the point is you summon this, you make it huge, and you swing for what would potentially be game. What better way to do that than shutting off their spell and traps at the beginning of their battle phase and having them not be able to respond? I don't know, the concept is there, so we'll have to mess a little bit more with that. But guys, what do you think about the Knight of Legend deck? It has definitely been taking over the meta as of late, because the My Precious Queen deck is the best deck in the game, arguably. So, with that said, as always, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Keep me updated. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
For more amazing Speed Duel content, subscribe to Yugi Bros. It's time to duel!